preparing for your arrival with the ISSS staff. And we really have two goals of this session. One, for you to see our smiling faces and know that there's caring people on the other side of the world that are going to be here to welcome you when you arrive at Colorado State University. And then to kind of set some expectations and help you prepare or kind of start thinking about your arrival to the United States and to Colorado State. And so with that, I'd say welcome. I'd say good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you're at here in the US or in the world rather. And we here in the US, of course, it's morning. And so we'll say good morning. We're going to start with brief introductions. And so I'll start first. My name is Greg Weimer. I am Director of International Students and Scholars here on campus. And I'm excited about this presentation. These are always well received. One of the questions, we have two questions that we're going to answer for you. And one is, what do you like about CSU or Fort Collins in the wintertime? Or share a tip that helps to transition to a winter climate. And so this is for our staff as we introduce. So as you introduce yourselves, answer one of these questions. I'm going to answer what I like about Fort Collins in the wintertime. And so for those of you students that are just getting to know us, that kind of thing, I came from a warm weather climate. I spent about 45 years in the upper Midwest of the United States. And during the winter time, it's extremely cold. So one of the things I love about Fort Collins is that average temperature, high temperature during the winter time is about 40 degrees Fahrenheit, which I'm not sure what that is Celsius. I should actually convert that. But I find winters in Fort Collins to be somewhat moderate in terms of temperature. But perspective is everything, right? If you're coming from a warm weather climate, then this is going to be cold for you. But if you come from an extremely cold weather climate during the wintertime, then Fort Collins is going to be a pleasant surprise for you. So that's what I suggest there. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to some of our staff members and I'll just call. So I'll start with Alan. If you want to introduce yourself, that would be great.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alan Boyd, and I'm an advisor in the ISSS office. And it's really nice to be here, and I'm so happy that you can join us. I really look forward to seeing you on campus. I guess the favorite thing I like about Fort Collins in the winter is that we are really close to the mountains, and I can take my two children sledding, and that's a lot of fun. Even if you have a really cheap sled to slide down the mountain, it's a free activity. And my tip for you as you come to Fort Collins is to wait to buy a lot of warm clothes until you get here, because they're probably more accessible here to get the warm clothes and coat and hat and gloves, and they'll have more options here, and you can find maybe the exactly right kind of clothes and gear to buy here. Anyway, thank you for being here.
Awesome. Laura, you're next on my screen.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning, everyone, or good evening, and welcome. I am so happy to be here as well to meet you virtually and soon in person. My name is Laura Arcila, and I am an international student advisor. I have been here in Fort Collins for 5 years now, and well, in terms of the winter, I would say I love the winter landscape. It's very pretty with the Rocky Mountains on the west side of town, how they look when the snow falls. I love the snow. It's very easy to get to the mountains within a short time, and things look really pretty there in the winter. There are a lot of things. Alan was mentioning sledding, but there is snowshoeing, there is mountain biking, there is of course a ski, or just a simple walk in the woods is wonderful. And my tip would be just to stay warm, and dressing in layers is important here because the temperature can vary a great deal between what you see first time in the morning. Midday is a lot of degrees higher, and then it starts to descend again at about 4. And so you want to be able to take off things or put them back on to regulate yourself. So, and I will pass it on to Melinda.
Hello, everyone. My name is Melinda LaBelle, and I am the CVIS coordinator in ISSS. So I manage the immigration records. So excited for all of you to be here, and we just look forward to meeting all of you in person. I have been in Fort Collins 5 years as well, and this area in northern Colorado, we get about 300 days of sun a year. So it's very sunny here. And so even though it may be cold in the winter, it's very sunny and bright. And when it snows, one of my favorite things is when it snows, everything is white and then you have sun and then it's even brighter. So you definitely even need sunglasses in the winter when it's cold because it's so bright, and even a hat, it's so sunny. But the mountains, Laura mentioned the mountains, you can see them from campus. And so when it snows, the snow will be all on the mountains. And our campus at Colorado State University, they do a great job with removing snow for walking. Some people even bike in the winter. And that is, every now and then there can be some ice and snow, but our campus does a very good job with that. So you can still walk around in the winter and enjoy the beautiful snow on the ground. The snow melts very quickly though, because the sun is so bright and we are at a higher elevation. So yeah, I love the winter. I love how beautiful it is, and the sun is wonderful even when it's cold. So thank you. I will pass it to Erin.
Hi everyone, I'm Erin Wish. I manage our J1 Scholar program, so you probably won't interact too much with me because I don't work with students too much. I work with people who are coming to be either employed at the university or do an internship or teaching, conferences, things like that. What I like most about winter in Fort Collins, similar to what others have said, but I've lived in other places where when it snows, it doesn't melt for a really long time and it turns kind of brown or black and gets pretty ugly to look at. But here, like Melinda was saying, because the sun is so intense, since we're at a higher elevation, even when it's still below freezing, the snow will melt very quickly. And so it stays like white and pretty basically for the couple days that it's there, and then it melts. And so I like that there's still some variability in the winter with the weather. It doesn't snow all the time. So it's exciting when it does snow, and then it goes away quickly and we get to enjoy sunshine again. So my tip would just be similar to what Laura said, wearing lots of different layers, because the temperature might be really cold out, but depending on whether the sun is out or not, it will feel much warmer or colder. And same with, sometimes here we get wind chills. So if it's very windy and the sun is not out, then it will feel very, very cold. And so just having multiple layers of clothing that you can add on or remove as necessary, just depending on the wind and the sun. Paul, have you gone yet?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Paul, and glad to meet you this morning virtually. And my work is employment-based immigration. So kind of like Erin, I'm not working with students every day. My work is more working with international faculty and staff that have been hired into permanent positions here at the university. So that's what I do. What I love about winter here in Fort Collins is no timed entry into Rocky Mountain National Park. So in the summertime, because the park gets so crowded, they have a reservation system. So you have to have a reservation and you schedule a time to enter the national park. But that goes away in the winter time, so you can go anytime you want. They do charge a fee for entrance into the park, but you don't have to have a reservation, which is really nice. And my tip is to get out and enjoy the outdoors. Even if it's not Rocky Mountain National Park, there are plenty of natural areas around town, just beautiful to walk in the wintertime. And I'll pass it to Rochelle.
Hi everyone, my name is Rochelle. In English, my pronouns are they, them, and I am an international student advisor. So I'm primarily going to be one of the people along with Lauda and Alan that you'll likely interact with the most, because we hold some walk-in open advising hours. Students can come in without an appointment during that time and get an advisor to talk with them about whatever questions they have about their F1 status, their J1 student status, things like that. And I'm going to share a tip to help you transition to the winter climate. And that is, this is going to sound dramatic. I saw it in a video once. The phrase is cotton kills, specifically in a cold climate. And what it's getting at is that cotton, something that's 100% cotton, holds moisture a lot, and it holds it for a really long time. So if you're out and about in the winter and your bottommost layer is made 100% cotton, it's gonna, if you're active and you're moving a lot and you're quite warm, then it'll turn into sweat, and that cotton fiber will hold on to the sweat for a really long time. So a lot of people prefer doing some kind of a polyester blend as maybe the bottommost layer that's going to be closest to your body because it will wick away the sweat a lot. I'm not saying you can't wear cotton. Cotton comes super in handy during the hot season in the summertime because that same property can help you cool down in the summer. But maybe just layers, and then potentially bringing an extra pair of socks or an undermost layer if you are going to just do cotton. And that's my tip to try and stay warm in the winter, cool in the summer. I'll pass it to Bronwyn.
Hi, everyone. My name is Bronwyn Watts. I plan programs, things like orientation and other academic, social, and cultural programs. So we get to do a lot of the fun events and activities that you will hear about today. I think one of my favorite things about Fort Collins in the wintertime, and I don't think anyone has said this yet, is the downtown lights in Fort Collins. They are lit up from the beginning of November through, I think, February or March. And it is just so pretty downtown while the lights are there. If you go in the evenings, it's really pretty, whether there's snow on the ground or not. It just really makes it brighter and really charming. And I really like that. So I don't know if Jaden can chat, but I don't think she's introduced herself. So if she's available, Jaden.
Thanks, Bronwyn. Yeah, I am available. I'm Jaden. I am the Global Advising Center Welcome Associate. So I'm at the front desk. So if ever you come into our office at Laurel Hall, you will most likely see me. I really like, for Fort Collins in the wintertime, there's a lot of coffee shops around, and I really like going to those in the wintertime because it can be so cozy just sitting in there watching the snowfall, or even just like looking at the sun shining outside. It's very beautiful. And it can just be, when it's cold outside, it can just be really nice to hang out in those spaces. And then some people have already talked a little bit about the sunshine and how it's really still sunny here in the wintertime. But a tip I would have is, even in the wintertime, if you're going to be spending a lot of time outside, make sure to still drink a lot of water and make sure to still wear sunscreen, because you can still get sunburned in the wintertime, and you still can just get dehydrated in the wintertime as well. And just because it's cold doesn't mean that those things won't happen. And so it's a good way to take care of yourself by doing those things. And I will pass it to Hazara.
Hello, everyone. It's so nice to meet you all virtually. My name is Hazara. I am the programming coordinator. I haven't spent a winter here just yet, but I do want to say for anyone who is interested in taking part in any winter activities, like I am, there's going to be lots of programs for you to be able to do that, to go skiing, snowshoeing, and just to have fun in the winter if you want to try it out for the first time in a big group. But I do want to share a tip to help transition to a winter climate. Like Jaden said, it's very important to stay hydrated. But that doesn't just mean like drinking water. I think it's also very important to stay moisturized. So making sure you have the correct clothing, but also taking care of your skin, sunscreen, like Jaden mentioned, but also tons of lotion. The air is very crisp here. So you might be needing a bit more lotion than usual. So that would be my tip. And I'll pass it on to Lisa if she is available.
I am. Thank you. Well, welcome, and we're so glad that you were able to join us today. So, like others have said, it's so wonderful to meet you all virtually, and we look forward to meeting you in person when you come to campus. Again, my name is Lisa, and I work with student success and retention. So, my job is to support students as they come to the university and during their time here, to be a resource person and someone that you can talk with about your experiences. And yeah, just a person that can be of help to you while you're here. And so I'll be sending out some information once school starts to introduce myself a little bit more formally. But in the meantime, again, as I said, welcome. My thing that I love about winter here is the sun. I love the sun any time of the year, but particularly in the winter because, you know, the days are a little bit shorter and darker. And so the sun is really rejuvenating and inspiring and uplifting. And so that's the thing that I enjoy the most about winter here. And as Melinda said, 300 days of sunshine during the year. My tip, I would agree with Alan. It's really important to have the right kinds of warm clothing during the winter. But I would recommend waiting to come here to purchase your clothing. We can help you figure out what kinds of clothing to wear and where to buy it and where it can be less expensive, those kinds of things. So, but definitely being warm and having the appropriate clothing is really important. But my other tip would be don't be afraid if you've never been in winter weather before. It'll be a new experience and one that can be really lovely and beautiful, as some of my colleagues have pointed out. It's just a magical time of the year. So yeah, that's my tip. And so I will put it over to Christy.
Morning, everyone. I'm Christy Eiler. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the Associate Director for International Student Services. I'm frozen on my screen. Can you all hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. Yes, I'm the Associate Director for International Student Services, and that means I support the efforts of our student advisors and all that we do to support you all during your time here at CSU. I also work with our international sponsored students and the sponsors and that support those students. And I'm really excited to meet you all this spring. I feel like all the wonderful things about winter have been taken already. I love the downtown lights, like Bronwyn said. I love the sun. So I'll just say something that has mattered to me a lot. I am one of those people who try to ride my bike as much as possible to work, even in the wintertime. And they plow the bike trails here, which is amazing, which means I can have a clear path even on a snowy day to ride my bike to work. And I really appreciate that. It helps me to stay happy if I'm still able to get exercise in the wintertime. And my tip to you all is to continue to get outside and get exercise as much as possible. Winter here is not brutal, and it's quite easy to still get outside and get exercise. And yeah, I think that's one thing that can be hard with winter, is that there is less sunshine overall because the days are shorter. And so that exercise and getting outside becomes extra important. And I'm glad that we live in a place where it's easy to do that even in the winter time. And Greg, Barb.
Actually, Barb, yep.
Hi, I'm Barbara Pretzer. I'm the administrative assistant for ISSS, so I support all the advisors and staff with whatever projects need to be done, emails. I don't have direct student contact unless I help to cover the front desk when Jaden's off. I've been in Fort Collins about 18 years this particular time. The thing I like best about Fort Collins winters, or kind of what Christy said, is you can still get out almost every day and do whatever you do. I run every morning, even if it's minus so many degrees, walk to campus. The part that's a little bit deceiving about Fort Collins and winter is that the sun is out. So when you look out, you don't necessarily think cold, but it is still cold out there. So make sure you have a winter coat or some sort of protective clothing, because if you are out for very long, it does get cold. But definitely get out and enjoy it. There's a lot to see, and most everything is walkable from campus, as well as the Mason Street line, which takes you from campus to downtown and to connections to Denver if you want to ride the bus. So welcome, and we look forward to seeing you in the spring.
Awesome, thanks, Barb. And so before we move on, I just want to make sure, are there any other staff members that are either off camera that I'm not seeing on my screen, that kind of thing? I just want to make sure everyone has a chance to introduce themselves that are on staff here. All right, hearing none. You can tell by our introductions that we're a friendly people that are going to be here to kind of welcome you and greet you when you arrive. And so that's our hope as we kind of continue on through this presentation. So we're going to actually get started with the presentation, and I'll control the slide deck. Alan, we're going to turn it over to you to kind of start talking about our prospective students' journey to Colorado State University.
Wonderful. Yes, thank you for coming, everyone. Let's get right into the informative part of our presentation. I'd like to talk about getting your immigration document, your I-20. Some of you also maybe applying for a J1 type of visa, in which case you will receive a DS 2019 from our office, but I think that the majority of you will be coming on an F1 visa. So I will mostly be talking from that perspective, but if you are applying for a J1 visa, let us know in the chat. So it's important to go, after you receive your I-20 from our office, we will email that to you, and that I-20 will have a couple of numbers on there which you can use to create your visa appointment. And we will send you a link with all of the instructions on how to do that. But the first number is called your SEVIS ID, and the second one is called the school code, which is the same for all I-20s that CSU provides. And you use those numbers to create a visa appointment at, oh, can we keep that slide, please? At the consulate and or embassy near you. And you'll need to bring with you the financial documentation that you show to CSU, and also make sure that your passport is valid into the future. I mean, it's best to update your passport now if you haven't already. Although if you're coming in the spring, I suspect you've already done this, but it's important to go to the consulate or embassy with a passport that has many years of validity into the future. The minimum is 6 months, but I would feel much more comfortable having a passport that's valid for the whole duration of your program. So please do that if possible. You have to show that you have capacity to pay for your first year of the tuition and fees, and also the living expenses, and also to care for your dependents if you have a spouse or children that are coming with you. And that type of funding typically needs to be from a bank account, not like stocks or bonds, but liquid funding that can be withdrawn and used. That's what the funding needs to be, and it doesn't have to be for getting your I-20. It doesn't have to be your own funding. It can be funding that a family member or even a friend who is supporting you can show. And when you bring that kind of that documentation, you should at least make sure that it has the name of the account holder and the date on it, and also the amount of funds and what kind of currency it is. Anyway, we can go to the next slide now. I'd like to talk just a little bit about the visa appointment. We actually will have another webinar in December, on December 3rd, to really get into the details about how to prepare for your visa interview. But it's just important that after you receive your I-20 or DS 2019, that you pay the I-901 SEVIS fee, which is $350 for F1 visa applicants. You don't have to pay that fee for the F2 applicants if you have dependents with you, just one time, and then you will log into the module to create your visa appointment. And last we checked, it was $185. It just went up a little bit for the visa appointment. So we hope that you can get your visa appointment in a timely manner. And like I said, we will go into greater detail about since it is such an important part of the process in our December 3rd webinar. But if you do have any quick questions about the visa appointment, you can enter it into the chat. And that's all I have to say about this immigration part.
Awesome. Thanks, Alan. Next up is Christy, and she's going to be talking to us a little bit about housing, health, and academic tests that you need prior to coming to the U.S.
Hello again. So if there's one message that you really hear strongly today, I want it to be that it is very, very important that you have your housing arranged before you arrive in Fort Collins. So if you don't already have housing set up, please make sure to get that arranged so that you have a place to go when you arrive in Fort Collins. Housing can be really tight here, and so that's really an important piece. So start early. If you're hoping to live on campus, make sure you get that online application submitted. It may be difficult if you haven't already submitted that to find on-campus housing. So you may want to check in and see also if you are likely to be placed in on-campus housing, especially if you have a family. You may want to start looking at off-campus options if you haven't already applied. So definitely get those applications in as soon as possible. And if you are thinking you're going to need to live off campus, I definitely recommend that you connect with off-campus student life. If someone can place that link in the chat, and that would be amazing. They can help you look for places to live in the community. If you are coming in as a freshman, of course, you're going to be required to live in the residence halls for your first year. So that for those undergraduates in that situation, just make sure you get those applications submitted so that you have your spot in the residence halls. Also, for those living in the residence halls, the halls officially open on January 16th. So that's the official move-in date. However, if you know that you're going to be arriving prior to that date, there is an option for early move-in starting as early as January 11th. And so you just need to let housing know. The website is listed there on the slide. If you want to move in early, there is a cost prior to January 16th of $85 a day, and that does include 3 meals a day as well. Other places to look for housing, sometimes student groups have Facebook groups where they may be looking for roommates, or have sub leases available. Like if that means you would be taking over someone else's lease in an apartment who's no longer going to be living there. Another great resource is our campus community platform, which you all should have been invited to join. There is a housing forum on there where folks can look for roommates again, or subletting options and things like that. So definitely, if you haven't already, start planning what your housing is gonna look like when you arrive here. It can be very, very stressful to arrive to your new home, but not actually have a place to sleep. So we're here to help as much as possible, and especially off-campus life can help with that, but we don't want you to arrive in that stressful situation. So next I'm going to talk about health information, and there are some things we recommend that you complete before your arrival. And the website is listed there where you can work on some of these tasks. Make sure you submit your immunization and health history documents. If we don't have full records, you may be required to redo vaccinations that you may already have. But do know if there are vaccinations that you know that you need upon arrival, that is something that you can do at the CSU Health Center upon your arrival. Another important thing to be aware of is that there are a couple of educational programs that you will need to complete during your first semester at CSU. Haven is an educational online course on sexual assault and harassment. There may be things that are a little bit different in the US, and it's just important to know those norms to make sure you don't get yourself into a tricky situation. So grads and undergrads are required to complete that course in their first semester. Undergrads are also required to complete a course called Alcohol EDU, and that is just some education around alcohol use, how to keep yourself safe, and if you are drinking, drink responsibly, those kinds of things. So just know that those are some requirements that you're going to need to complete in your first semester. Another thing I'll talk about is the CSU, actually the state of Colorado health insurance requirement. It is state law in Colorado that you university students carry a health insurance plan that meets state requirements. And for most of you, the best and easiest option is going to be the health insurance that is provided by through Colorado State University. And when you register for classes, you're automatically going to be billed for that health insurance. And it's the easiest insurance to use at the CSU Health Center, where you'll be paying fees, and there's a lot of free services that you can access at the CSU Health Center. So for most of you, I would recommend just going with that option. It's probably the most affordable you're going to find with the best coverage. It's really a great plan. For some of you who may have a sponsor who provides your health insurance, depending on the plan, we will waive you for health insurance. If you have questions about whether or not your sponsored health insurance meets the waiver requirements, go ahead and reach out to me and I can help you with those questions. And then let's see. Another thing I want to talk about is, and this is for registration requirements, especially for undergrads, there are some placement exams that you should complete, and those can also be done prior to your arrival on campus. You should have received an email from orientation and transition programs on a math placement exam and an English placement exam. And I would recommend that you do those ahead of time. And that helps us to know what English or math courses you might need to start with upon your arrival at CSU. And then for graduate students, graduate departments have very different requirements. So for you all, we do recommend that you reach out to your departments about any specific requirements. And then for all of you, we do need you to participate in our pre-orientation module for registration. But I'm sorry, that is just undergraduate students as well. And we recommend that all of you do that prior to your arrival so you can start getting registered before you arrive. Yeah, so I think that's all that I had to say, and happy to answer any questions in the chat if there were any. Right.
Thanks, Christy. That's great. So moving on, we're going to actually turn it over to Melinda. She's going to talk a little bit about getting ready for CSU, focusing on financial preparation, and then also kind of what to pack from a general standpoint. So
Yes. So you want to start getting your finances ready. We recommend that you bring about $500 in cash when you arrive so that you can pay for things immediately, things like your initial expenses, transportation, your temporary housing, food. In the United States, a Visa, credit card, and MasterCard is widely used. So if you have a Visa or MasterCard, that will help you pay. You can use that form of payment as well. Fall tuition deadlines, spring tuition deadline is February 10th. So you also should be thinking about preparing to pay for your tuition and fees, and you should look into any government regulations on transferring money to the United States. So be thinking about that, because after you arrive, you want to be able to pay your tuition and fees, and it will get billed to your CSU account. In your RamWeb account, you will see your billing. So you need to be prepared for that. And any other expenses, all the fees and rent, if you're not living on campus, being able to pay for your rent and all of those things. So be prepared for that. We have 2 banks on campus, and the picture that you're seeing on this slide is the Laurie Student Center. That's the Student Center. It's a very big building with lots of helpful things for students. And there are 2 banks we have in there, and we will, when you arrive, we will show you the banks that are available to you, and you can set up a bank account, hopefully right away. You also will be receiving what's called a RAM card, and that is kind of like your university identification card. And the RAM card, you can use it to scan, to pay for things. If you put money on it, you can pay for food, books, all kinds of things. It also, you can use it for transportation for the bus system in Fort Collins, which is free with your RAM card. So that's helpful. And yeah, I think for finances, just preparing, knowing what you're going to have to pay is very important. And if you have questions about that specifically, feel free to reach out or ask a question in the chat. Moving on to packing, we talked a lot about weather as we introduced ourselves. So I think most of you probably already are understanding that it's cold, but that it's sunny here. There's in this slide here, we can see the average temperatures starting in January. So we've got a 6 degrees Celsius is the high in January, and -8 degrees Celsius is the low in January. And the amount of snow is 8 inches, which is equivalent to 20 centimeters. So it's not, I mean, for some of you, that's a lot of snow if you've never experienced snow, but compared to the northern parts of the United States, that's not a lot of snow. Let's see. We talked about layering clothing. We talked a lot about clothing. So I think most of you probably are getting that message that it's helpful to have multiple layers. And it is cold here, obviously, but we have lots of sun. And Alan mentioned, you know, all of the winter clothing, you can find a lot of that here. So when you arrive, it's going to be cold in January. So I think it's a good idea to have a warm sweater at least, and a jacket if possible, or light jacket, and then you can prepare and get more of the winter clothing as you get settled. We also do recommend that you bring one traditional national dress from your home country. We have lots of opportunities. We have a World Unity Fair, which you'll hear about in the spring semester, and many of our students dress and wear their clothing from their home country. So if you have an outfit that you can bring, that's wonderful. And I believe Rochelle, is moving on to speaking about the dorm. Actually, go back to that slide, Greg. Sorry, I forgot to cover what to bring. So this is a picture of a dormitory. Some of you are living in the residence halls on campus, and others maybe in an apartment. But for the dormitory or the residence hall, they provide a bed and a desk and a closet, but there's no bedding. So it's you know, your choice if you want to bring sheets, but you certainly can buy that here. And I think it makes more sense to buy sheets and a blanket and pillow here in the United States. Bring some photos from home and anything that you would want to put in your home residence, in your dormitory or in your apartment that will remind you of home. Also remember that the electricity voltage is different in the United States, so you'll want to bring an adapter initially if you have electronics that you're bringing that have a different electrical plug, and also adapter for the difference in currency. And we will provide you we will help answer questions on where to shop, where to buy things for your dormitory, clothing, all of those things. We can help you in that. We're here to help you with that at orientation, and our office is always available to help answer any questions as to where to go to buy anything that you need while you're here. And I think that's it for me.
Great.
Yes.
Thank you, Linda. That's
Thank
great.
you.
And so we're going to turn it over to Rochelle, and they are going to talk about what to bring on the plane.
Yeah. All right, so you're going to bring some really important immigration documents and supporting documents to assure, to convince the CBP agent, Customs and Border Protection, that you are a valid student coming in for studies. And some of those documents that are going to help you do that are a hard printed copy of the I-20 or DS 2019. We have signed these and sent them to you electronically by the time you're preparing to come to the US. And our signatures, when you print them, should show as blue. So make sure you print it in color. And then you'll hand sign the student attestation line at the bottom of page 1. And you'll prepare that either I-20 or DS 2019. I-20 is for F1 students. And you'll obviously need to have a valid passport and visa in order to enter the US, except for some individuals from Canada, from I think one of the Caribbean islands. Why am I blanking? There are a couple of nations that are exempt from visas, but the largest population we see that for is Canadians. Canadian nationals don't have to have an F1 visa stamp in their passport, but we have heard of some issues with them maybe not preparing all the right documents. So make sure, even if you are from a country that doesn't require an F1 visa stamp, you absolutely have your I-20 and then some of these other documents. So some of the other ones will be, actually one more quick note about the passport. It's a good idea too, and you might be even required to, depending on your nationality, have not only a valid passport at the time of entry, but having the passport be valid another 6 months out. Obviously, it's not the best idea to come to the US if your passport is about to expire. So look at your passport expiration date, put it in your calendar at least 6 months or a year ahead of its expiration so that you are thinking ahead of time about how you're going to renew your passport. If you're in the US for 4 years for a degree, there's a chance that it might expire while you're here. And so you'll need to plan your renewal either with a consulate or embassy of your country in the United States, or by returning home over a break period, for example, to renew your passport that way. And then in that case, if you have a new passport, but the visa stamp is in the previous passport, you'll just carry both of them when you travel, because the visa might still be valid in the old passport, even as the new passport is actually the valid passport for travel. Another thing you'll want to bring is the I-901 payment receipt. Make sure once you're preparing to come to the US, you've gotten your visa, or if you're Canadian, etc., you have gotten your I-20, you'll need to pay the I-901 fee. This is a US government fee. It's also called the SEVIS fee. It's around $375. I might be wrong, sorry. These fees change occasionally. If you need help finding out how to pay that, it is listed in our pre-arrival guide about how to pay that fee, but you can always reach out by email and we can give you the link and answer some questions about that. So keep that receipt with you when you're traveling, and definitely get it sorted before you're coming to the US. But I would still recommend you wait until maybe after you've gotten your visa if possible, just to ensure that when you show up, we're able to complete your IDR successfully. You'll also want to bring evidence of your funding. Whatever you showed to get your I-20, you should be bringing that funding documentation. If you are a sponsored student, that will probably be a sponsored letter. You should bring some health forms. You know, if you have your immunizations, you can look at the CSU Health Department's page. They have a checklist for new students. You'll want to look at the new international student checklist and make sure you've sorted out those forms prior to arriving. If you have prescriptions, you'll want to double check what prescription or other medications the US permits and in what quantities. And I think the US tends to have we tend to permit a lot of prescriptions. It's usually the reverse, that our prescriptions are not always permissible in other countries, but just double check that your prescription drugs will be permitted in the US and bring any of those prescription letters with you. And then I'm gonna look at my Word document, there we go. Okay, official transcripts or test scores. If you haven't yet submitted these, of course, because I think you just mostly need to upload them online through the admissions portal or getting them to the international enrollment team. But that's a good idea to bring them as well as any insurance documents. I think this is mostly getting at for those who have suitable health insurance outside of what is going to be provided at CSU. So essentially only those who qualify for the waiver of insurance. And then, of course, if you have any personal accident insurance or travel insurance for your travel period, you can bring those in addition to your laptop, phone, chargers, whatever else you normally bring when you travel. And that's it for me. I believe next up is Lisa to talk about transportation and arrival.
Awesome. Thank you, Rochelle.
All right. I think you can move on to the next slide, please, Greg. So something that we want you to be aware of as you're making your arrangements to travel to the United States is that there is a 30-day rule that under your immigration status, you are only allowed to enter the United States 30 days prior to your start of your program. So it's important that you adhere to that timeline, that you not arrive any sooner than 30 days prior. Also, it's important that you arrive in F1 status. So if you have a tourist visa and you've been to the United States before or something, you don't want to utilize that visa. You want to make sure that you come in on your F1 visa. At the port of entry, along with the documents that Rochelle has mentioned, you want to have your hard copy of your I-20 or your DS 2019. You want to have a valid passport, and you want to have a valid visa at the time of entry. The other thing that you probably should be aware of is the address, that your home address or the address where you'll be staying when you initially come in, because you might be asked information about that as you are checking in through immigration. There is if there is any kind of a question that the officer at the port of entry has, they may ask you to go into what they call secondary inspection. And this is where they have an opportunity to look into your record a little bit more carefully if they have any questions. The thing with secondary inspection, it's usually to clarify information. It's important that you not panic if you're asked to go into secondary inspection, that you just, if you're asked any questions, that you answer anything honestly and concisely. If there is a situation where other information is needed from the university, there are two numbers. If you're arriving during working hours from 8 to 5, you can call us at the number listed here, 970-491-5917, or after hours at the other number, 970-491-6425, which is the CSU Police non-emergency number, and they can reach out to one of the staff to assist with any information that might be required. Okay. We can move on to the next slide, please. In terms of transportation from the airport, we have a few very reliable and very good companies that will bring you directly to Fort Collins. So if you're coming directly to the CSU Transit Center, if you're arriving to CSU because you're living on campus, or maybe you have somebody that is going to pick you up to take you to your residence, there is the landline, which is a very good bus system. They do require that you make a reservation, and the cost from the airport is $32. In addition to the landline, there's the Groom shuttle bus. Again, reservations are required, and the cost is $32 if you are going to CSU specifically. But they can also provide you for an additional cost transportation to your residence. Excuse me. So these are some very good and affordable options of getting from the airport to Fort Collins. Again, there's the Lyft or Uber, but those tend to be a little bit more expensive. And so we would recommend that you utilize one of the bus lines or the groomed transportation service for getting to CSU or to your residence. Okay.
Perfect. Thanks, Lisa. That's
Sure.
fantastic. And so moving on, we are going to have Hazara talk a little bit about orientation and how students can establish a sense of belonging. So Hazara, if you are there.
Hello, everyone again. Do you mind moving to the next slide, please? Thank you. So we're going to be sharing a little bit more about your upcoming orientation and some events that you can take part in that will be happening in spring semester. Your in-person orientation will be happening on January 13th through the 17th. It is mandatory that you attend for January 14th. There are going to be other optional sessions during that time. We will also be including a campus tour where you can learn a little bit more about helpful resources, including the library, tutoring services, our student center, and our recreation center. During orientation, during the mandatory portion, you're going to get a chance to do an immigration Q&A. This is a great opportunity for any of you who still have immigration questions or concerns to address those with the immigration advisor in person. We're also going to be sharing a little bit more about campus safety, academic success, get you connected hopefully, and do a library resource presentation. And of course, there's going to be tons of fun opportunities for you all to bond. I will share the link for you to register if you have not done so already through the chat. And also, there are different ways for you to connect with campus resources apart from orientation. You have a chance to get all of these resources during orientation, but also you can find those online. We will also be doing tons of events and activities. We usually have regular events that change every season. Some of them are like movie night, bingo night, game nights. We also do volleyball when the weather is very nice, football 101, and weekend in the mountains for anyone who wants to spend some time in the mountains. And then there is going to be a World Unity Fair that will happen in February, so shortly after you arrive. It is our biggest international event on campus. And like it was mentioned previously, it is a great opportunity for you to share a little bit more about your culture or your country if you want to take part in it, or if you simply want to attend. It's a wonderful opportunity for you to travel around the world in one day. And if you want to get more involved in campus clubs or any groups, you can always go to SLICE. That stands for Student Leadership, Involvement, and Community Engagement. CSU has over 400 clubs and organizations that you can be part of. And if you have any questions about that, you're welcome to search them online, or you can always speak to an advisor about your interests and hopefully get you connected with a club that you are interested in. And I'll go ahead and pass it on to Laura.
Awesome. Thank you, Hazara. That's great.
Thanks, Hazara. So what I would like to talk about now is advising and well, when to see an advisor. So first of all, I want to say that our role here is to support you, to help you adjust and succeed here at CSU throughout your studies. And we are very proactive and intentional in collecting feedback about your needs and in trying to incorporate and improve our services so that we can support you better. So you're always welcome in our office, and you're always welcome to provide feedback on what we can do better. So, but as far as the advising, we have a system in which you can come here for what we call open advising, which is every Monday through Thursday from 10 to 11 a.m. and from 1 to 3 p.m., where you can just walk into our office in Laurel Hall, or you can meet with us remotely via Zoom during those times for consultations that don't require a lot of time. So typically 5 to 10 minutes for quick questions that you may have or quick advice. For more involved conversations about other things that may require more time, we have the appointment system, and you can go to a platform called Navigate after you have your student ID, and you can schedule an appointment with any of the advisors in our team, and that would include Rochelle and Alan. There is an advisor also coming to our team that is not here today, or me. And you can make an appointment that fits your schedule to discuss those concerns or those needs. We see students all the time for all kinds of questions about travel, employment, or bringing family to live with them, or maybe after some time, students find that they will need more time to finish their program, so they need extensions, or for whatever reason, they have to move from one visa status to another, or also, they have new plans. They are going to transfer to a new program, for example, after completing their first program. As well as emergencies that happen from time to time. So the range is wide, but the message I want to bring is that you're always welcome to contact us either on open advising or by making appointments. And we are here to help. We are always wanting to get your feedback about what we can do better. We are trying to open now new spaces for continuing to build and building community. So as we move forward with those programs, you will hear more about that on your email. That's all I have to say for now. So I
That's
will
great, Laura. Yeah, thanks. Thank you for
thank you.
that. We are going to wrap up briefly here. Brown's going to talk about staying connected, and then I'll just kind of summarize kind of our entire workshop here. So thank you, Laura. And Brownwan, you are up.
Great. Can you, yep, perfect. Go. Perfect. So we invite you to stay connected with us. And if you ever have any questions, we are available. You can reach out to us via email at isss@colostate.edu. That is the easiest way to send an email if you don't know who you need to contact, because that will go to the appropriate person, and whoever it is that needs to respond can follow up with you directly. You can also call us if you ever need to. You can visit our website, that's linked there. If you have Instagram, I highly recommend you follow us on Instagram. It's where we post a lot of up-to-date. Can people hear me?
Okay. Yep.
It's where we have our most up-to-date information. If something changes quickly, that's where it's going to go. So follow us. We are at csu.international.rams on Instagram. And I will let Greg share about campus community, but just if you ever have any questions, please reach out to us. Don't hesitate. We're always happy to help. And I will also repost, but these webinars are being recorded, and within a couple of days it will be posted on our pre-arrival webinar webpage. So I will post the link there where you can see the ones that are coming up still. Register for those, as well as see the ones that we have had in the past on on-campus housing, off-campus housing, preparing for your visa arrival, and then this one will be up within a few days. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Brownwan. And so as we wind up with the workshop, just wanted to let you know that we are, if you can't tell, we're here to support and really help you be successful from start to finish. And so it begins with pre-arrival workshops and just kind of connecting with you and providing you with information. But then all the way through your journey here at CSU, engaging with our international student advising team, with our programming team, providing with you with opportunities to get connected. One of those opportunities that we're providing you to get connected is at the very bottom of the page. And I would say if you can try to mute someone here. There we go. You know, at the very bottom of this page, campus community, there is an option, and we have dropped it in the link, a link in the chat as well, that gives you the ability to download an app and start to connect with each other prior to arriving on campus, connecting with students from your home country, other international students that are coming here in the fall, that are currently here attending. There will be opportunity to connect with international students that are within your major field of study. And so really gives you a chance to kind of connect with folks that are currently attending or that are planning on attending here in the spring. And so we want to make sure that you have the opportunity to connect. So download the Campus Community app and start kind of engaging with each other prior to arrival. That will help you as well. And so with that, we have a couple more quick announcements. And Bronwyn briefly suggested these, but we have on December 3rd, Successfully Navigating the Visa Process, where we'll give you some insight on what to anticipate and what to expect as you engage or apply for an interview for a visa. On January 7th, in a couple of months here, we'll have another pre-arrival question and answer with the CSU staff. It'll be a little bit different where we're actually just providing you with an opportunity to ask us questions, and we'll take the time to answer those questions with you prior to arrival. And then as Bronwyn suggested, there is a link to sign up and view past recordings. So if you've actually missed one of these sessions, you want to go back and listen to a session, you can definitely do that. And so with that in mind, I know that you all have been asking questions throughout the workshop, but we will provide just a brief amount of time here just to ask questions. And you can do that either one of two ways. And that would be to either put your questions in the chat, or if you are as so bold to unmute and ask a question, you can do that as well.
Greg, before we go to questions, could I just mention one
Jump
thing?
on in. Great. Yep.
So I want to let everyone know about this great new resource that we just recently are offering for international students. And it's something that's available to you as soon as you have your CSU email address. And that is a career platform called Interstride. And it's a great resource for international students to start building your career path and planning ahead even before you arrive on campus. So I did put the link to you all. It's a single sign-on. So if you have your CSU email address and your CSU password, you can log in that way. But I think it's going to be a great resource for you during your time at CSU. So if you want to log on now, please feel free to do so. That's all I wanted to say.
Awesome. Thanks, Christian. All right. So questions by any of the attendees? Got a little bit of time here. Again, feel free to either put your questions in the meeting chat, or if you want to unmute and ask a question, you can do that as well.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, Kier.
Hello. Yes. How are you?
Well,
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm also fine. First of all, I'm very happy for the wonderful presentation that has been put in place. I'm fully satisfied with every information at the moment. But what I would like to first ask is it possible to get a need-based or fully funded scholarship when you are admitted? Second question is, do the administration of Colorado State University offer a loan program, international student? These are some of the questions that I was about to ask. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, sounds great. So, Kira, as I understand, the two questions that you have is what are the opportunities to apply for scholarships, for need-based scholarships? Those are a couple of possibilities. We would encourage you to contact our International Enrollment Center. They will provide you with a scholarship application if you haven't completed that. That's at the undergraduate level. But most of those are having to do with academic scholarships, not necessarily need-based scholarships. Okay, and so that's one possibility to apply for scholarships through our IEC, our International Enrollment Center. If you're a graduate student, a lot of times we encourage you to reach out to your department to see if there's any possibilities of a graduate assistantship type opportunity within your academic department. So CSU doesn't have a lot of need-based scholarships, and so it really is dependent on past academic and or connections or research opportunities that you want to do as a graduate student with your department. So that's the first question. And then the second question was, can you refresh my memory on the second question, Kier? Maybe not. I can't remember what the second question was.
I think it was about loans.
Oh, loans. Yes, it was. So the university, Colorado State University, does not have a particular loan program that we suggest. You may want to do some research in your home country to see what kind of loans are available. Typically in the United States, if you want to take out an educational loan, most often you need what's called a co-signer. So you would need someone here in the US that you know of that would be willing to co-sign on an educational loan. That would not be any university staff. We would not actually co-sign on a loan. These are typically relationships that you've established, or you have, you know, a uncle or aunt or someone here in the United States that's willing to co-sign on an educational loan with you. But the university does not provide loans to international students, and so that's kind of the reality of the circumstances. When you come, you do provide documentation that you can cover one academic year, and so there is that expectation that you will have that ability to cover your first year of academic expenses. So
I'll add one more thing on that, which is that I think in part due to costs in the US being kind of high for living, and of course, recently over the last several years, there's been a good bit of inflation, which raises the price of day-to-day goods and services, that I have personally seen students come in, you know, describing to me that they are in a difficult situation, specifically sometimes because of the loan terms. So sometimes these loans actually have to be paid while they're still in school. So I would say if you're considering taking a loan for your education, read the whole document and make sure you understand it. Read it very thoroughly to understand like how much you're going to be paying, when, what happens if you can't pay, all of that kind of thing, before deciding to take out a loan for your education. Because I've heard of some students not being able to keep up with those in addition to all of the other normal educational expenses. So it kind of ends up not being as helpful as they thought it would be.
thanks for that insight, Michelle. That's great. All right, other questions?
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah, go ahead. Anna.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much for the presentation. So mine is in two folds. I was supposed to come in fall this year, but then I had an issue with my visa, so I had to defer to the spring term. So prior to my visa appointment, I completed the online orientation, did the what do you call it? I think a course on, I've forgotten, sexual something. I completed that one too. Do I have to redo that?
The answer would
because
be
I'm
no.
joining.
Yeah, so I mean, you've completed those recently. So if you've completed the Haven course on and the immigration pre-arrival orientation, where you've kind of gone through the immigration, online immigration, there will be a question answer session and during our orientation, but the online components, if you've completed those and that was recent, you would not need to do that again. So.
Okay, great. And then the second part, that's regarding the orientation. So the most favorable date for my tickets in terms of the pricing is somewhere around 18th of January, which means I may miss the orientation if I select that date. So I wanted to find out, is it accepted? Is it okay if
Well, yeah, it's a great question. I mean, of course, we're always going to tell you you need to be at orientation because we cover such important information, that sort of thing. We can't necessarily, how do I want to say this? We get requests from folks if they can't get a plane ticket, that kind of thing. Are we going to refuse or not allow them to come to CSU for the spring semester? If they can't make it by a certain date, the answer simply is no. But you will be at a severe disadvantage in regards to your transition. So if at all possible, we're going to encourage you to come a couple days prior to our orientation, which would then begin on what's the date? January 14th? Is that the correct date that's in my mind,
The
Bronwyn?
14th is the mandatory day.
Okay.
Optional sessions start the 13th. And Greg, I've already been messaging him,
Okay.
so we have spoken directly about his situation.
Okay, sounds good. We would encourage you, if at all possible, to be here during orientation for sure.
And again, if it's helpful to show insight from what I've seen in past years, I'm pretty sure every semester we have some folks who, for one reason or another, they miss the orientation. And the closer you get to the start of classes, the more I've seen students kind of struggling and scrambling to get things in order and to understand and get their bearings. And in Fort Collins at CSU, getting everything lined up before classes start. Greg used the great words of you'll be at a severe disadvantage. So if it's possible, definitely show up in order to be here for orientation, because you'll just be starting the semester with a lot less stress in that regard.
100%. All right. Any final questions? We are nearing the final moments of the webinar.
Hi, Greg.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah.
Jump in. Yep.
Yeah. Greg, my question is on getting the SSN and the bank accounts for like all the stuff that's supposed to follow. So are all of those things covered in the orientation, or does it happen afterwards?
Yeah, it's a great question. So they are covered during orientation. A couple thoughts here. One, in terms of an SSN, typically a student has to secure on-campus employment prior to going to the Social Security office. This will not impact things like opening up a bank account or getting a cell phone, that kind of thing. We do have the ability to help students open up bank accounts and get cell phones without a Social Security number. But that actually maybe leads to an encouragement of if you arrive, or make sure that you arrive before orientation. It gives you a week actually to try to find an on-campus job, secure employment if you don't have a graduate assistantship. If you have a graduate assistantship, you'll be immediately eligible for a Social Security number. And we will, once we have done your immigration document review and we've registered you in STVIS, we'll provide you with instructions on how to obtain a Social Security card or a Social Security number. The nice thing is it's literally only 4 blocks north of campus, so it's a quick walk from our building to be able to get to the Social Security office and make sure that that happens for you. So yes, Great
So
question.
as soon as I arrive in campus, I can just reach out and say, I've arrived and settled. So I can get the ball rolling after that.
Yeah, we'll help you get the ball rolling, 100%.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right, so, and I will again tell you briefly, any final questions, we'll put that out there, but otherwise we do want to say thank you for attending the webinar. Our goal is to hopefully make you better prepared for arriving here in January. And we are looking forward to meeting you all. So,
hi, Greg.
go
Am I
ahead.
audible?
Yokesh, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, hi. It was really nice. Thank you for sharing so much information. All of you guys have been good. I really have one question to ask. Is there any way to kind of interact or communicate with students who are upcoming this semester, spring semester, before we even land in the university? Maybe you guys have already covered it, but I think I missed it.
Yeah, 100%. Actually, so we do have an application called Campus Community, and it does give you the ability to connect with students that are entering here in January, as well as current students that that are currently here. And so we would encourage you to log on, and I believe we've put it in the chat, but let me find it and I will repost it here.
Greg, I've got the link.
Awesome. If you want to put it in the chat, that'd be great. So go out and actually download the application. It is a free application. It is sponsored by CSU. And so it's not spam or anything like that. Go out there, download the app, and then you can start to connect with students that are international students that are in your major, international students that are from your country. It is going to ask you a couple of questions about some of the interests that you have, and then automatically assign you to a micro community. So if you love chess, or if you love soccer, or what you would know as football, or cricket, or whatever, you can actually get connected with other folks that have similar interests. But it will also allow you to start to communicate. So if there's housing needs, people that can that are looking for apartments, you can kind of connect up with some of those new students that are coming in as well. And of course, you can always ask us questions as well.
Oh, cool, great.
Hello.
Thank you so much for that.
Okay.
Looking forward to meeting you guys in person.
Yeah, I can't wait to meet you.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, hi. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Dave. So I have a question to ask about I-20. So do you know like the timeline when I can get my I-20, or like or is there like a deadline to apply for my I-20?
Well, so once you're fully admitted to the university, they're going to reach out to you, and by they, the International Enrollment Center will reach out to you and ask you about your financial circumstances, financial documents. If you're getting a graduate assistantship because you're a graduate student, then they would be notified by the department. And then as soon as they have financial documents, and like your passport, informational biographical page, they will actually create an I-20 and then send it out to you via email. Let you know that it's ready to print. You would download that and then print it off, sign it, and then you're ready to go to apply for a visa. So if you have specific questions on why you have not received your I-20, we would encourage you to reach out to our International Enrollment Center, and I believe their email is international@colostate.edu, and they can help you finalize the process of getting your I-20, Dev.
Oh, okay. Yes, for sure. Thank you so much, Greg.
Yeah, no problem. Have a great day.
You too.
Great. And with that, we are 5 minutes before the hour. So I'm going to suggest if you have further questions, feel free to reach out to us via email. We're happy to help in any way we possibly can. But again, thank you for attending today's session. And we wish you all the best as you kind of embark on this adventure of coming to Colorado State. We can't wait to meet you in January here. So good luck, and hopefully we'll see you if you've got visa questions. Again, December 3rd, similar time, we will have a presentation helping you prepare to navigate the visa process. And so we will help you there. So otherwise, have a wonderful evening, wonderful afternoon, wonderful day, depending on where you're at. And again, thank you for attending today's session. Have a great day.
Bye all.